Hi everyone, here's Supercomics once again, and this is a quick video to give you my review of The Magician's Land, the third and last volume in the Magician's trilogy by Lev Grossman. And this is not necessarily the kind of book I would usually review. I do not have that many things to say about it, and some of these things are not necessarily edifying, but I reviewed the first two and it made little sense for me to leave this one out. So, at one point a character reflects on the fact that the impulse came over her out of nowhere. Nowhere was where she got a lot of her best impulses these days. And that's, I don't know if Lev Grossman was being ironic there, but yeah, it sounds like a commentary on the novel as a whole. Very often, very much in the Familiar series, you have characters following quests and doing things for no real reason, just because it feels right. Because in quests people, go into fields or follow random rabbits and then eventually find adventure awaiting them. And the magician and the magician's king, but the magician king actually managed to swing that beautifully, and that works, and you never realize is that here, no, it doesn't. Here it feels like characters do most of their things out of some random impulse, and most of the things you read about are really rather inconsequential. And when you eventually realize that they are all connected, all the connections feel rather flimsy and random. And yeah, I do not think at all that this is as carefully staged a narrative as the first two books, where even the second book also had a beautiful thing going where you followed a double narrative. Basically, there were two parallel main narrative strands that alternated between different chapters, and the great thing about the Magician King was that the rather secondary narrative about the character of Julia was even more interesting than the main one, concerning the characters you already knew from the first book, or at least you knew better from the first book. Here, the secondary narrative, the Elliot narrative I'm talking about, Elliot and Fillory narrative, for those of you who read the book, I did not care that much about it. I was only interested in the first one. Don't get me wrong, the writing in this book is beautiful. There were entire pages of this which were simply extremely, really funny. There were some reflections in here which were genius. Grossman occasionally uses its fantasy arsenal, the arsenal of tropes he takes from the whole fantasy genre in an amazing way. There's one reflection I loved particularly much about how being a demon means knowing that you are always right and that everyone else is always wrong. That's just genius. At the same time, one of the main issues I had with this book may very well be just my personal problem, which is that I did not care about the characters of these novels at all, but this is something I took with me from the first book. I never liked these people. They always looked arrogant and sort of shitheads, all of them, obnoxious, Oxbridge type of privileged young people. And I've been told by fans of the series that they grew up into better persons in the second and third volume. I have not noticed that particularly much. And one of the most annoying things about The Magician's Land is that these people still talk like they are on some kind of chat room. The narration, which is constantly focalized through these people, even though it's third-person narration, you get to experience things from their points of view. It's constantly, she did that for the lols, or I don't know, magic FTW, or mum jokes, which I suppose are meant to make these people feel more, nicer and funnier and more relatable, but no, that does not really work. It makes them feel more obnoxious to me. But let me know if your opinion of these people changed in the second and third book, if you cared more about them as the series progressed. Overall, my impression is that The Magician, the first volume in the series, is a must-read for fans of fantasy fiction and for people who are into those alternate worlds, usually British fantasies, usually children's fantasies, in the best possible sense of children's literature as a tradition. Things like Alice in Wonderland or Chronicles of Narnia. If you love those types of fictions, by all means dive into The Magician, the first book. The second book is also great. If you enjoyed the first one, I would definitely recommend it. Magician's Land, I would only suggest you maybe read it if you are a completionist, or if, like me, you have the whole set at home and the book is just sitting there on your shelf. Once more, it's not like there's nothing to love in this book. Overall, wasn't that much of a fan. Let me know if you finish the series what you think about this third volume in the comments below. As always, you'll find links to my review of the first 2 novels in the series on the screen in a second, and I will see you on the next video. Bye guys.